In today's day, I'm going to talk about some techniques which you as a candidate would want to consider in order to look more credible and to basically do well with your interviewer. The first one I want to talk about here would be around the ideal length of your answers, right? So if you look online and even ask ChatGPT, the general consensus is to be as concise as possible and to avoid rambling. Okay, now who wants to go to a job interview to start rambling, by the way? So in my experience, the candidates who get the most job offers are not the ones with the shortest possible answers to interview questions. Okay, and these type of concise and to the point might work in screening rounds, for instance, where recruiters simply filter candidates going for a proper job interview. So if you want to save them some time, then you can intentionally shorten your answers, again, for the purpose of a screening round. Okay. However, here, my most interesting finding is for the final interview rounds where you interview for a job offer. And as I said previously, the most successful candidates are not the ones with the shortest possible answers. Furthermore, I would say that long, convincing first answers tend to do significantly better with interviewers. Okay, and there are a couple of reasons for you to consider these long answers. First reason, not all interviewers prefer engaging in a conversation with you. And just to give you two short examples here, they might not have a ton of skin in the game. Okay, they're simply not the main stakeholders in the hiring process, so they are likely to prefer taking their notes and to move on. Okay, and this is more common than most people think. Okay, and the second reason is the interviewer could simply prefer to listen when compared to engaging in a conversation with you. Okay, or if you want, they will only engage in a conversation if they smell something fishy or they really have to, because you as a candidate failed to provide them with some important information, such as some key details in your original answer. So again, better give them long, convincing star answers if you want. Okay. Second reason to give long first answers is because you will simply be able to differentiate yourself from other candidates. Because what happens is that not many people can speak at length about an achievement without rambling. Okay, so if you can achieve this, in my experience, that's overwhelmingly to your favor in a job interview. Okay, and if for a moment you just look at the other extreme, you'll be surprised how easy it is to be interpreted as unprepared, superficial, inexperienced, and so on, if you focus only giving initial short, brief answers. Okay, technical roles in particular here, right? Third reason, giving long, convincing first answers is not as dangerous as you might think, because a long first answer, when your interviewer prefers it to a short, cannot disqualify you from the job. Okay, if they cut you short, it just means that the interviewer is setting up expectations and building rapport with you. All right, because this usually happens in the beginning of the interview with either non-critical, either introductory questions that tell me about yourself, or why do you want to work here. Okay, and speaking of interruptions here, let's look at an example. So Dan, can you tell me about the tough decision that you had to take on recently? Why was it important? And yes, what was the outcome? Yeah. So midway through a 6-month project, my boss had challenged me and my team of 5 to stop all pending work and reshift focus to some feature they said would delight our customers. I actually followed my boss's lead, and this proved to be the right decision. All right, but are you sure this was the best way to address the request? Yeah. Well, what about your boss? Team? You know, I had to follow his lead actually. Yes, but what about your other assignments, your other work? Was it all lost? My other assignments had to be abruptly stopped, but that's a risk that I assumed. Okay, but are you sure this was the best way to address this request? I believe you're right here that, in fact, in retrospect, I could have done better here, and my team's mood wasn't that great either. So Maybe I could have delayed my boss's request in order to preserve my team's morale here. So I believe it's pretty self-explanatory that interrupting your interviewer is not the best approach to make their life easier, right? Next tip. It's actually pretty simple and efficient so long you do it subtly. Okay, so the idea is that you should adapt to how they conduct the interview. So, for example, if they speak significantly slower than you do, then maybe no need to speak fast. And in fact, some of you could greatly benefit from speaking slower, okay, because you will also become more intelligible this way. Another one here, if they smile and they have a positive overall attitude, that's something for you to consider following as well. You don't have to be all smiles throughout the exchange, but you can at least try once or twice and look a little bit more likable, right? And the third thing you can do here is when they talk, for example, when they ask you some questions or some follow-up question, you can also nod in approval, okay? Because this is also often an indication of acceptance and approval of what they say. It also makes, by the way, their job easier and makes them feel better, right? And my final tip here, again, in the context to make your interviewer's job easier, is to ask them simple questions at the end of the interview, right? So don't make them think or rethink too much with complicated questions such as, do you have any doubts about my ability to do the job? Or how do I compare to other candidates that you've been interviewing lately? Okay, so instead you could simply ask them some easy questions, which they will hopefully also enjoy answering. How long have you been in this role? Or what do you like best about working here? Right? So I hope you found this information useful, and thank you very much for watching.